we have some good teaching from everything we covered yesterday, and it'll be a good step into our game tomorrow.
Was it a good camp, and did you accomplish everything that you needed to do?
Yeah, it's funny. Gary Fisher just asked me my thoughts of it. And sometimes I'm focused on just being organized. Everything goes smoothly. So, half of my thought process is that. And, sometimes, and then the other half is how the guys look, some individual looks, who's competing for spots. So for the most part, happy with the way camp's gone so far here in Traverse.
Healthwise, you came out of it pretty good, right? Other than
Yes.
Luff and then
Well,
Charette.
2 guys, that's not,
Yeah.
obviously we're 4 days into our process here and we have 2 key pieces up front out for an extended period of time. So yeah, no, actually not completely healthy coming out of it.
Luff and
Mazer.
That's right. Okay. Hey, yep. Andrew Kopp. Last year, obviously, he was banged up at the start of camp and missed out. Do you expect? What have you seen from him this camp, and do you expect him to blow into things a lot better than he did last year? Obviously.
Yeah, last year, obviously, he missed most of the front end of camp with core surgery, and that's just a really tough surgery to recover from. And he probably wasn't himself probably till mid-season. So yeah, of course he has a full off season. He's a guy that obviously takes his off ice very serious, worked at it. So, you probably see yourself, Ted, he's looked good. Just looks like he's getting around much better. So yeah, I think with the full off season, hoping for a really good start for him.
Sounds good. Thanks for this, Derek.
Yep, thanks, Ted.
Rosie?
At the beginning of camp, you said that it would be you guys are starting at the 50-yard line. Did you see forward progress this week from Traverse City?
Even in the red and white game yesterday, you could see a little more organization with our structure. I know it's a small thing, but even our sets and our face-offs, guys are on the same page. It looked organized, looked detailed. Still a huge work in progress. A lot of mistakes, a lot of teaching. So tomorrow we'll start pecking away even more of it.
And you talked yesterday about the importance of roster decisions and personnel heading into the preseason. For guys that are vying for spots on the fringe, what are you looking for from them?
Probably comparing A and B. Guys are going to have plenty of opportunity. 8 exhibition games. Everyone's going to get plenty of game time. Some more than others. Obviously, there'll be purpose to that. But playing to their identity, how they can help us, how they can fit into the big picture.
Thanks, Newsy.
Answer?
Yeah, Derek, just at what point of the preseason do you like to have your season opening lines and D pairs set? Is it maybe the last couple games, or you can use the whole preseason to kind of experiment?
Probably the whole preseason, just the way the exhibition games play out. We play 3 and 4 and 3 games in a row, day off, and then the last game of the year. So we'd probably like to have our group by that last exhibition game on that Saturday. And maybe, probably a few extra guys hanging around then, maybe make a decision off that game. But that's probably the target.
Justin Hall is a guy that you've coached against a lot within the division the last few years. Just what have been your impressions of him and what he can bring?
I think you saw it in the game yesterday. I think he was very effective in the game. Once we got into those game situations, he defended well on the 5-on-5 situations. Penalty kill, he was great. He embraces that role. Those are the type of things that made him one of the top minute eaters on a Stanley Cup contender team in Toronto last year. So good day for him, productive day for him yesterday.
Thanks, Derek.
Hey, Derek, you've mentioned Lucas Raymond a few times this week. How would you it sounds like you're pretty pleased with what he showed here.
Yeah, he looks, we'll put it in a game situation tomorrow. He's going to be skating with Larks and Alex tomorrow. He does look stronger. He looks, just physically, he's taken a step, credit to him. Now it's just translating it into his play.
And where do you want to see that strength show up in games this preseason?
Yeah, great question. I think I mentioned it's like, I think a bunch of our guys, even myself, have mentioned, he's physically looks bigger, thicker, he's put some weight on, but, we don't need him putting, weight on, putting weight. We just want him to be stronger. And I think just naturally that's happening. I just think those puck battles, staying on his feet, winning a few more of those battles, keeping plays alive. He's a guy that can produce offense, can make plays. But he's got to have a puck. And I think just him being a little stronger and winning a few more of those battles.
And then last thing, with all the guys you've added and the improvement, I think it sounds like you hope to see. How do you kind of calibrate your expectations, knowing that the division and the conference still is what it is?
You try to push the noise away, and that's the media. But the media does it for us. Again, it's not a knock on our guys. There's not a single person. I've stopped reading media because it's so negative on us. And again, it's not a negative on us. I mean, the projections, percentages, some people have us no chance of making the playoffs. I think the highest article I read is a 14% chance to make the playoffs. Everyone's writing us off. And again, I get it. It's not a knock on our guys. It's just the reality of the division and conference that it's in. So, we'll knock the noise away. It'll be about our process and just doing things correctly. Very similar to where we were last year. Again, no one gave us a fighting chance last year, and ultimately, in the end, they were right. But as I stated before, late to the season, game 57, we were in that playoff line. We exceed expectations. Hopefully, it'll look the same this year.
Thanks.
Coach, I promise that only 95% of the media are writing you off. There's a small fraction, little faction that believes. So
Good. I like that. I like those guys.
Anyway, I was wondering if you could speak about Joe Veleno and the progress he needs to make this season. I mean, to some extent, he's really on a prove-it contract of his own.
Yeah. I think consistency in his game. If you recall last year, I really thought he had a really good start to the season. He was very effective. And then, I think it'd be too easy to say he hit a wall, towards the end, but, he was less effective. The production was down. I think really productive summer for him. I think his goal is to have that similar good start, but to maintain it, be a little more consistent night in and night out. And I'm very confident he can do that.
And can you tell us a little bit about how the teaching process changes between training camp and the exhibition season? It looks like training camp is more about structure and the exhibition season is more about execution and details.
Yeah, you're bang on that. You simply get to apply it in games now. And then you're just working off your process of improving from the games, holes within your game. I mean, even from our red-white game, we'll be making some improvements, some enhancements, and where we want to be into Pittsburgh. And then it'll just kind of be a rinse and repeat throughout the camp.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Last question, we'll go to Sean.
Hey, Derek. The other day, you were talking about Villy and workload and kind of it's more about how it's usage as opposed to the pure number. I'm curious as a coach, when you kind of look across the league now, is it becoming, and we see obviously Vegas is fresh in mind since they use so many goalies, and is it becoming more of a three teams have to be a 3-4 goalie team? Like, how do you kind of look at the state of the league right now as it's kind of moving forward?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I just think it's different to each organization. Obviously, the horses, the top goalies in the league, you look at someone like Andre Vasilevsky, everyone in the league knows he's going to get close to 60 games, and he should. In most of those games, they have the best goalie on the ice for 60 games. Why would you, if you have a player of that caliber, why would you not play him? So I just think different teams are in different situations. Some teams are having success with, a 2 goalie rotation, but I think depth's a reality, and we got hurt on it last year. where we had to go into the waiver wire. So yeah, I think depth in every position is important, especially in that goaltending position. And we'll be no different. And I think our management team did a good job of giving us some options in goal.
And on Villy himself, what are some of the things that stood out to you as obviously as someone who has some history with the position more than some others as well? What are some of the things that stood out to you about he can be one of those 55 to 60 guys? Like what kind of stood out to you as one of the that as part of why he can be one of those guys?
Well, he's proven it in some stretches in his career. His stretch he had in St. Louis, probably pushing that team to a playoff spot, and the start he had with us last year. Now I think it's on him to maintain that workload and to keep his play at a high level. We do hope, and we're going to work towards him getting a similar start to where he was last year, and him being able to sustain it.